Well, now let's move on to the community member participation for the draft, the consolidated plan itself. And Eric, we do talk about affordable housing there. Would you like to? Yeah. Sure, yeah. Right, yeah.
Well, hi, my name is Eric Passett. For some of you who don't know me, I'm the owner of North Shore Apartments and Condos. I've been a property manager, landlord, rental agent for almost 40 years in Evanston. So between me and some of the associates I work for, we represent about 30 buildings in Evanston. Most of them the courtyard style vintage buildings. The reason I'm here tonight is I think one of your biggest things that you guys are promoting is affordable housing. Yet the environmental board, which I know is not what you guys are today about, but it directly affects what you're talking about. The environmental board, which consists of a lot of people, a lot of the council members, or at least they're voting on it, plus the mayor is signing up, is in favor of this also, is making all buildings that are over 20,000 square feet have to switch over from using natural gas to electricity. Well, if that would anything about kill affordable housing, I can't stress that more than anything. Our buildings are all but maybe one are all natural gas. So if you're over 20,000 square feet, which most of our buildings are, so if you take a 30 unit building or 35 unit building, forget about that. It's kind of not environmentally sound to throw out 3,000 stoves all at once because all our stoves are gas. So you have to get rid of that, but that's not what I'm talking about. We'd have all of our boilers are gas fired. So by year 2050, that would no longer be able to be used because they all have to be, the grid can't even handle it. Forget about that for a minute. That would cost us as landlords, each building, about $500,000 because you have to get rid of the boiler, you have to upgrade the electric. So your only choice is really to put in not gas forced air, but forced air units or some type of forced air units in the unit because, we have to remove all the radiators. I mean, there's only one way to really do it. We can't, we're not a house, so we're in a building, so it's forced air is the only way to do it. So to upgrade each unit is about $30,000 because you got to upgrade the electric in the whole building. You got to put in the forced air units. You got to do all the duct work. So where is that money going to come from? So now we're going to tack on an extra $200 to $300 a month on our rents for the next 30 years to pay for that. If you amortize that over time. So how is that affordable housing? And I know that 7 out of the 8 city council members are behind this, plus the mayor. And it just seems pretty much, I'm going to say it bluntly, hypocritical. Because how can it be affordable housing if not only is it crippling to the landlord, we're not going to eat this. So we're going to have to pass it on. So we'll take out a long-term loan because we can't do it all at once. So you say by 2050, which sounds like a long time away. Thankfully, I'll be out of the business by then. But the biggest supply of affordable housing is landlords. People like myself. We try to keep our rents reasonable. Yet this right here would be completely contrary to that because we're going to have to invest again $500,000 plus all the interest you pay on that. It's probably close to $1 million a building. We have to find a way to get it back. So I know this is the wrong place. You guys bring up recommendations, but I'm going to be at the next city council meeting talking about this also because I feel like it feels like it's all but said that it's going to be passed. That's what it kind of feels like here. So, and if this city's all about affordable housing, why not just let the landlords be a part of it? Yet you're going to use federal money to do it when you could use all private money like ourselves. We try to keep, if you look at our buildings, we're not high-end rentals. $1,300 for $1,200 for studios, $1,500 for one bedrooms. 2 bedrooms under 2,000. That's pretty affordable for Evanston. Maybe not for other places. So I guess I just want to bring that up as a food for thought, that should be discussed, because I read this the other day, and I was just infuriated would be an understatement. And just can't believe that here we are talking about affordable housing, and this is not affordable housing, or just does not promote affordable housing. So thank you.
Yeah, so I think our sustainability staff ought to convene a meeting of building managers to talk about how it's going to work for you all, because yeah, we can't. It's a big challenge. Yeah.
Well, without being sarcastic,
Sure.
it's impossible, because if we have to become electric, if we have to switch from gas to electricity,
Right.
our whole building is heated by gas.
Right.
So it's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of
Right.
thousands of dollars per building.
Right.
So we're talking in the millions.
Yeah. Right.
And
I
I just thought before they even thought of passing this, they should have reached out to landlords, which is feel like it's to make it more realistic.
Right.
I mean, why not get rid of gas stoves? I'm not gas stoves, but make them. So we try to make no more pilot lights on our gas stoves. So the electronic starters. That helps a lot. That was a huge expense. Again, in the hundreds of thousands. We just did that because it is environmentally sound. Plus, we're hurting people's health by that. So we've done that 99% of our units. If we don't know it exists, then we change it once I see it. But this would be quite impossible, because our electricity, not only can we not do it, the grids can't handle it.
Right. Well, thank you. Thanks, Eric. And Tina, did you want to talk about this? This is the comprehensive plan part, consolidated plan.
Chair Ravel,
Yes.
I just have a point of information. Mr. Passett, so this was discussed, and there's a big presentation at the last 9th Ward meeting where they go over this. The deadline for building electrification isn't next year after this pass. So, yeah, and so there's, just let me finish. So the plan is there will be a citizen run review board that will be working with the buildings, and building managers will be working towards being energy efficient, because that will save you money. And they acknowledge that there are some buildings, depending on timing of replacing appliances and boilers, they'll work with buildings. So it's not that you're gonna have to rip and replace in 2 years. It's just working towards upgrading electrical LEDs, showing that you are doing things to cut your energy costs. So it's not a drastic, and they're going to be working with people, because they did talk about boilers and big infrastructure. HVAC systems do take a long time. So, well, I don't know what you're showing there, but if you go on the web, okay. Well, if you go on the web page, you can watch the presentation, and so they're not trying to, even all homeowners, you can't expect people to just go electric next week. So, just yeah. So.
Thank you. Excuse me, Tina?
Yeah, hi. Just kind of a comment about what Eric said and what Councilmember said. So next year, 2025, so we're discussing 25 years. I've managed a property for 25 years, and I've never gotten any help from the city, from any agency. So what he's saying, 25 years is a blink. And I've gotten nothing. So I agree when he's saying, let's look into this, because it seems that landlords are left behind. It's always a push for the tenant, which I'm not objecting. We didn't get help when we were under the moratorium, where nobody paid rent. Where did that leave us? And that was a devastation for someone like me who's a small landlord. I just had a tenant walk out on 10 months of no paying rent. $24,000. And where's my help? But I see restaurants getting $650,000 grant money that they don't have to pay back. So this committee here is voting on things that affect my livelihood, and we're considered not businesses. So it's more important for Jane Doe to get a restaurant rehab than to rehab our places where we're providing what you say we need, which is affordable housing. I feel some kind of way about that, where meeting after meeting, we spend $1.7 million on a skate park. Do you know how many people I could house? And I could turn my building electric for $1.7 million. But we don't get any of that. We're talking about pickleball, $600,000 to change the courts at James Park into pickleball. $600,000, let's focus on that. How many people could I house for $600,000? Or how much could I repair my building where I had a shooting 3 years ago and I didn't get any help? How about more focus and being for real about helping the landlord? So I understand what you're saying, council member, but you need to understand what we're saying. We don't get any help. Where's the grant money? I don't see it. But we have money for everything else. All kind of entertainment for the city. So when we talk about plans for 2025 and 2045 and 2050, does it include us? We're a business too. And soon, I help the homeless. I'm going to be homeless with these regulations. Thank you.
Thank you. Excuse me.
I see that that in the plan there's money for inspection department, $250,000, and so this money is in this conversation looks like it's for targeted areas.
For CDBG.
Correct, CDBG money for targeted areas. And that you're going to give, if I read, because you tried this before, and you're going to target property in this map, which predominantly is where my property is located, primarily where Black and brown people live. And you're saying you're going to give the city inspection department $250,000 to harass me some more. Something sounds wrong about that and discriminatory. I can show you places that aren't on this map where the city department needs to be and they're not. I believe that this money should not go to that. We also had a discussion about rental registration fees at City Council, which will be coming up again next month. That meeting should be here, not at City Council. And you're going to raise our fees so the inspectors can come and inspect. Something is all confused and wrong about that. And I object to this money, and I object because this is discrimination when you're targeting certain areas and you're given money to target us. believe, and also NSP2 and CDBG areas are inspected every 2 years, which is discriminatory, especially if we do not even receive the money. I hope that this money, I look forward to some kind of presentation, that this housing rehab money goes to those people, which I'm included, in these areas that you're targeting and saying it's not a good area, we need to fix it up. Some of you know me, and I've been here, just as I said, 25 years speaking as a property manager and 40 years speaking as a citizen. And at this moment, I do not believe the city is serious about affordable housing when you keep approving luxury housing over and over and over again. And people like me do not own, operate, or rent in the downtown Evanston area. We can't afford it. When I go to the meetings, I'm the only black person in the meeting for the 1st ward or the 7th ward. Very few. 6th ward. So we're talking about fair and equitable. Let's think about that. And I'm going to ask the question again. How many black people or brown people own and or operate in downtown Evanston besides the Robinson family? Let's focus on that. How many? And I hope that I'm selected for some of this housing money and not go to someone who doesn't need it or repeat. So I'm going to make that clear too. There's people that you approve that get money more than one time, more than 2 times. There should be a limit on how many times people get grant money, not the same people. Thank you.
Thank you. And Tina, just to answer just one part of your comments, I mean, CDBG money must be spent in CDBG areas, so that's,
I'm in CDBG forever
okay,
and
yeah,
never have received a dime.
yeah.
We
Well,
have been asking, and you know, Alderman,
right,
you visited my
I
property
did.
before,
right,
and I've never received anything from CDBG. Nobody, I've tried to ask Alderman prior to you all. As I said, I've been speaking for 40 years next year. And my mom was alderman in 87 to 93. And I started going to meetings 2 years before she was ever alderman. And no time, and we've been providing affordable housing. There's very few people that accept a Section 8 voucher. There's very few people that'll take a connection voucher. There's very few people that take Catholic Charities or any other organization. We do, and what do we get? A kick in the pants. We get a code violation. We don't get help.
okay, thank you, Tina.
If you may close the public comment for the record, that would be great.
I hereby close the public comment for the record, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
I wanted to elaborate a little bit on the property maintenance program and how often properties will be inspected, because that's something Margaret she does this all the time, so she doesn't remember that the rest of us, that a lot of other people aren't. We are implementing the program that we talked about, which is with routine inspections, when the next inspection will be is based on how the inspection results are. And I don't have it off the top of my head, but the easy one is if there are no violations, and this is per unit. This is not, like if you have a 30-unit building and, you're or a 1-unit building, it's the number of inspections the number of violations per unit that actually counts. No violations your next scheduled inspection will be 5 years out. And I don't remember the exact numbers for the 3 years out and the 1 year out. And one of the things that in the former attempt to try to really focus on our properties that need attention, that was when the city decided to make CDBG target area properties inspected every 3 years, and everything else was inspected every 5 years. Now, we never really had the staff to actually implement it on that schedule anyway, which was a challenge. But the big problem is it made an assumption that residential rental in lower income areas was not well maintained, which is absolutely not true of many of the properties. And so Tina and others who complained about that had a good reason to complain, because it isn't treating them fairly. So by setting the next routine inspection schedule based on the results is much more fair to the property owners, and is part of the other challenge, and the thing that we are losing CDBG funding just based on reductions in CDBG funding. But the other assignment we were given by our city council was to figure out a fee schedule to recoup some of the costs of doing this program. Because in the past, there was only an initial, when a property, not a new property, but an existing building was first registered for rental, there was a $200 inspection fee. And after that, there were no inspection fees, and there were no, there's just no fee schedule. So it's clearly not something, what it amounts to is basically the general fund was just funding all of that cost. And so that's being changed. There is a proposal before council. There will be a discussion at the meeting, the second meeting in January, and hopefully a fee schedule will be passed at that time.